Alright, this is going to be my last video from this book. David Armstrong's Sketch for Systematic Metaphysics. Following this video in particular, I'm going to be doing videos out of this book. This is the Blackwell Metaphysics of the Blackwell Anthology of Metaphysics. There's lots of good things in here, so I'm gonna do videos out of this book now. I've read quite a few things out of here, so I'll probably read some more things and probably learn a lot, really. So anyway, I want to talk about particulars, really. When it's talked about particulars, it's referred to, well, particulars are referred to properties a lot, for one thing. And they're also referred to temporality. Temporality in that do the parts perdure or endure. So we have analyses like the Ship of Theseus. I have a video that I made a long time ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, 2010 or 2011, where I talked about the Ship of Theseus and all the issues with that. Primarily, what Armstrong does in this chapter about particulars is he does talk about perdurance and endurance, as well as talk about he has a quote from Bishop Joseph Butler, and it has a lot to do with identity and temporality. And we're thinking about, like, let's go back to the Ship of Theseus. There's cases where, in the Ship of Theseus, I should probably go over that and we'll look at it again, but there's cases where, like, when it's like a really old ship and it's taken apart, but yet it's put back together with new parts, like new. Say we have like all this rotted wood. We have the ship here, and it's full of rotted wood. And it's just like terrible. And then we take it down, and we get new pieces of wood, new everything, new parts, and we put it back up together. So is it the same ship? We have cases like that, and then we just have. There are a few other cases that I can't really recall about the Ship of Theseus, but it's like a thought experiment about do particulars perdure or endure throughout time, and what was another one? The Ship of Theseus example or thought. I cannot really recall. I don't know. It's like a lot of it has to do with, even though the ship is taken apart, is the ship still there and stuff. I recommend you looking that up, looking up the thought experiment on the Ship of Theseus. I have a video on it from a really long time ago. It's my metaphysics playlist. Either way, Armstrong. I'm gonna read a quote from Joseph Butler. He's talking about the strict sense of identity and loose and popular usage of words, whereas for something much less strict is demanded. He uses it in discussion of the identity of objects. For when a man swears to the same tree as having stood 50 years in the same place, he means only the same as to all the purposes of the property and the uses of common life, and not that the tree has been all that time the same in the strict philosophical sense of the word. For he does not know whether any one particle in the present tree be the same with any one particle in the tree which stood in the same place 50 years ago. And if they have not one common particle of matter, they cannot be the same tree in proper philosophical word sense of the word same. So it's like if we have a tree that stands there for 50 years, does it all have the same particles, and does that matter to time? So what else does Armstrong go over? Armstrong thinks that the identity of an ordinary particular is only this loose and popular identity. And then we have he talks about like a time slice. The particulars at any time. Now I'm gonna get to the distinction between Perdurantism and Endurantism. Okay, you can draw lines arbitrarily in space-time in the fashion of a space-time worm, like a four-dimensional thing, and yet not capture anything that we would think of as a particular. What marks off ordinary particulars? First, continuity of existence plays an important part. Though there are objects that are disassembled periodically and then reassembled, there is in general a spatial continuity over time. Second, resemblance is important, especially between nearby slices, and where there is a change in nature, that change should generally be not too abrupt. But although these things are important, there's something more hidden that is causality. And Russell in Human Knowledge, its Scope and its Limits, called the particulars causal lines. Particulars are always changing in some degree, but all the particulars exist and must grow causally out of its past. Let's see what else here. Okay, I'm gonna go to the distinction that Armstrong looks at. Perdurantism is an object or individual has distinct temporal parts in its existence. So Perdurantism has the view of a temporal part. Let's say, like, we have a whole object, then there are certain parts of it that are temporal, that are temporally, or trying to explain temporal parts that exist with that object according to time. Now, there are perdurantists that are worm theorists. A worm theorist is that all objects are four-dimensional worms. Persisting object composed of temporal parts. A stage theorist, which is object is identical to a certain temporal part at any time. So a worm theorist is going to say that that every object is a four-dimensional worm that has temporal parts, but it's all this book will probably be like dust or ashes in like 1,000 years or whatever. So this is a 4D worm in that the ashes or dust that this book will be 1,000 years from now or so is part of this book's existence. It has temporal parts, but it's all part of this 4D worm. Stage theorist, on the other hand, is saying that this has temporal parts, but this is not identical to the ashes or dust that it will be in like a 1,000 years or so. It's kind of interesting to like think, what will this be in like 1,000 years? Who knows? Probably like, I don't know. So we have those two kind of perdurantists. So to say that objects have temporal parts is to say either that there are time slices of each object, or that each object is a 4D worm where there are temporal parts, and whatever. An endurantist is saying that a object is wholly present at every moment of its existence. So that's saying that if this is ashes a thousand years from now, if this was a tree like 1,000 years ago, probably, or I don't know, maybe probably like, let's say like maybe 10 years ago, this was actually probably a tree. I don't know. So no matter if we're talking about a tree or a pile of ashes or dust, that's all a part of this thing here. It's all, everything about this is wholly present in its existence. Now there's lots of things that that we can think about here. I think so. The whole question is do things have temporal parts or no? And Endurantism kind of sounds kind of weird. That this is ashes as well as a tree, as well as a book. But there are a lot of really good theories on that. There are a lot of really good theories, and it sounds reasonable too, because to even think about that, because there are things about that book that have something to do with what it will be later. And then it has to do with things of the world and its interactions with the world, and even though it was a tree long ago, even though it was a tree 10, 20 years ago, it just so happens that the treeness of this book is still in here. The ashness or the dustness that this will be in 1,000 years, is there's still ashness in this book because of this little hylomorphic thing called this form and matter, or potentiality and actuality. So there's actuality in this, and there's potentiality in this also. So that's really interesting. So that's kind of like a Endurantist thing. We can argue that every single object, has it, every part of its existence is wholly present at every moment. So there's no time slice that is like, to where part of this object is not there. I would actually agree with the Endurantist side. Just because, yeah, I think it's true that no matter if it's going to be tree or ashes or a book, its existence is wholly present. It's just the things of the things of the world that change it, not the object. And I think a worm theory is kind of a not so plausible. If you're going to be a Perdurantist about temporal parts, then be a stage theorist. I think so. Just kind of think about object as in time slices. But I would be on the Endurantism side. Thanks. Let me know your thoughts.